South Carolina at Clemson, the Palmetto Bowl. This rivalry game is packing a little more heat than most years. Both these teams are having really good seasons and potentially playoff implications on the line in this game. And South Carolina has been looking good. They are on the rise. And ever since the loss to Louisville, Clemson has been playing a little bit better. They did have a tough one against Pitt, but they have been looking a little bit better. So let's look at what the game is here. And one of the biggest matchup I am looking for here is this South Carolina defensive line versus the Clemson offensive line. The South Carolina defensive line, for my money, is one of the best defensive lines in the country. That front seven is one of the best in the country. I'd stack them up against pretty much anyone. And Clemson's offensive line is really, really banged up. They got three offensive linemen that are season-ending injuries that will not play, and a couple more that are banged up who might be able to play on Saturday. But that has been a problem and an issue for Clemson all year, especially with all these injuries. And this South Carolina defensive line can really mess things up and cause Cade to be scrambling a lot. And we've seen Cade under pressure. That is not his strong suit. He's able to run the ball, but he's better when it's a more designed run than it is a more ad hoc and scrambling. So that's going to be a matchup that I'm going to be looking forward to this weekend. The other matchup is when Clemson's offense is clicking, they look pretty solid. Now, I understand they have played a lot of inferior opponents relative to their talent level on their team, but they have been able to expose defenses. And when Clemson is able to trust Cade to throw the ball down the field, they've been able to make some big plays with TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco and Antonio Williams. Like, those guys are playmakers. They're not maybe the T. Higgins and the DeAndre Hopkins of the world, but they can break a game open. And if Clemson is able to trust Cade to go do that and make those plays, they can take advantage of this South Carolina secondary. So that's something I'm definitely going to be looking for, because when they don't trust Cade, they look at a run game inside the tackles and a screen game. They run a ton of screens, and defenses have caught on to that, and they have played the screens well. And that's been a very conservative play calling that Clemson has fallen into from the games that I feel like then they don't trust Cade a lot. So that's something I want to look out for. Now, on South Carolina's offensive side of the ball, Lenora Sellers and this offense has found a rhythm, and they have been looking really good recently. So the beginning of the year, they were struggling. Lenora Sellers maybe not figuring out what to do. They have figured out a pattern for Lenora Sellers, and he can really beat you with his legs. And then the defensive line for Clemson has also been a little bit banged up, but they do have the guys up front that can contain him. And if they're able to do that and force Lenora Sellers to pass, I think the Clemson secondary can be okay against the South Carolina receivers in the South Carolina passing game. So I think that matchup favors Clemson well in the defensive side of the ball, so long as they can contain Lenora Sellers. If Lenora Sellers is able to use his legs and rip off 5-6 yards a clip, or maybe even more, and move the ball down the field using his legs, Clemson will be in for a long day, because that's where South Carolina can beat you, and that's where they can run the clock open and put up points. So that's another area that I want to focus on here, and I think I'm so looking forward to this game. It's at noon. The line is a little tricky here. The line is Clemson -3 now. They opened at 2.5, and it's being pushed now to a field goal, which is an important half of a point. Now, like I would have thought maybe South Carolina, this would have been a pick 'em, or maybe South Carolina would have been slightly favored. But given that Clemson's -3 at home here and the line is ticking up, leads me to believe that maybe Clemson is secretly pulling something off here, and maybe they can pull it out. So I'm going to go with Clemson here, -3, with them getting a shot in the college football playoff. Follow Big Body Ball CFB on all socials.